Good morning.
Good
It's
morning.
tea time with Caylee and Lara, and we are talking about being organized, how to get organized, be organized. So last week we talked about what happens when you're too busy. So that's like you weren't organized, you got too busy, and now you have to deal with that. But today we're going to talk in a different light about how to make sure that you keep fierce boundaries and around your schedule, your commitments, things you agree to, so that you're not too busy in the future, and to really stay organized. So we're going to share with you some of the things that we do, and just some ideas that we have to help you really plan out your future so that you don't go into overwhelm and chaos mode, which a lot of us are living in right now, right? Is that you? Put up your hand. So Lara, you're such a great example of this, because when I first met Lara, you were speaking at an event. You had a brand new baby. So how many years?
Oh goodness,
3 years
3
ago.
years ago, yeah.
And she just like radiated this calmness, speaking after a new baby, 3 kids, multiple businesses. And I was like, I need to know her and figure out how she does that. So can you share like some ideas around how you kind of do it all?
Yeah, so I think the first thing I would say, and even adding to what we had said, was I think it's how the vibration you show up as and the vision that you have. So it's like, have you done your work before you arrive at the event to have meditated or to have gone for a run or to have gone for a hike or whatever your thing is? And then do you have a vision of where it's going to go? So I'm a big fan, as you know, of like planning your year, planning your week, planning your day. Even for these Fridays, we have it planned out in advance of like what we're going to do on the Friday and what does it look like. So I would say that would be the first kind of step.
Awesome.
The first 2 actually, of having your vibration right and then setting a vision.
The vision, and you talk a lot about alignment, right? So make sure that the to-dos in the vision align with like that higher purpose or thing that you're trying to do. One of the things that I do is kind of like give a theme to each day.
Yes.
And I find that really helpful, because when I have like sporadic things, then I can forget about them or forget commitments, or just feel really chaotic and out of control. So an example of that would be every Monday is my group coaching day, whereas Wednesday is my one-on-one coaching day. And then Thursday, I call it my field trip day with the kids. So I know like on Thursday, I want to plan a fun activity to do with the kids. So how do you kind of manage your calendar?
Well, I love this one. And I feel like this one has been the reason why I've been able to have a coaching practice for this song, is that I only coach on Wednesdays. And if you can't coach on Wednesdays, I love you. And it just, when you can coach on Wednesdays, it works. Because if I had a call on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday with life running as fast as it is, I would be a mess.
Yeah.
But if I know that it's Wednesday, I have triple childcare taken care of. So if the backup doesn't do the backup, doesn't do the backup, like all of that. So I really love that, making sure that there's things in the day and having that all planned out and organized.
Yeah, awesome. So it's a lot around like looking ahead. So we talked about calendaring, but I think we jumped ahead because we're going to talk about kind of the story you tell yourself too. So where does that come in?
Yeah, big piece of time is that we think we're at the effect of it, where we're really at cause. We're at cause with time. We own time. We can expand time. And this gets like a little bit woo-woo-ish, because most of us live in the land of, as you had mentioned, being a victim to time. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough this. I don't have enough that. And then that leaves them powerless and unable to create, where the reverse is actually true, where you are a cause, where you can create whatever you want with everything that you have that's in abundance.
Yeah.
So it's really having that like paradigm shift and being really the owner of it versus the victim of it.
Love that. So we're kind of going back to the idea of like 100% accountability too, of like, and when I first heard this concept about being a victim of time, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I don't have enough time for this. I don't have enough time for this. Like, no, I'm not choosing that as my priority. And so now all of a sudden, just the way you speak shifts that, right? And when you start shifting, a lot of it comes down to just the way you speak about it. And if you're always like this victim of time, you can't get it. It's like a scarcity mindset. And it's the same with money, right? It's the scarcity mindset of like, there's never enough, I don't have enough, that really keeps you in the not enough. So it's really shifting that thought process into abundance with time as well, right? Exactly. So what's the story you're telling yourself? So when you hear yourself saying, I don't have enough time, what's that limiting belief that's getting in your way? What have you not like prioritized? So that brings us to the calendar. We talked about like how to shape out your calendar. I think we'll go more in depth in that next week. That'll be a good one. And then what else is it? So then the bold yes you talked about.
The bold yes. So once you get to the point where you really know that you own time, you're at cause of time, is know what you're a bold yes for and consequently a no for. So the example I say is, if you had your water heater break and you obviously didn't plan for it and it took up 5 hours of your week, you would find 5 hours to make it fixed, to get the floors deflooded, or like all the things that need to happen with that, because you would find time. Well, when you're a bold yes to the things that you really align with and want, you can make time for them, just like you can make time for fixing the water heater.
Yeah. And there's also like competing commitments, right? Like maybe there's two things that you want to make time for, and it's a matter of getting like really real about, well, and this was when we were coaching. You said to me, I said, I have this list, they're all priorities, and you said, well, which is like the real priority? And I'm like, they all are. And you said to me, well, they're all not getting done right now.
All the priorities are not getting done.
And I was like, right, so just pick one.
Yeah.
So really the bold yes is like getting real about where you're spending your time now, right? Like the audit of like, where are you spending it now and what needs to go? Like, what can you stop doing to be doing the things that are a bold yes?
And we talked about this before, where if you just even pick one thing, if you pick one thing to do, like if you think about being organized, well, you need to prioritize in there. So if you can't do all of the things, do the one thing.
Yeah.
And then see how that goes.
Well, and Darren Hardy always says too, like, what's the one thing that's going to eliminate a bunch of things?
I love it.
So when you can kind of just, and whenever I was feeling like I had too much to do, I would just sit and like meditate on that question. Like, what's the one thing I can do right now that will eliminate a whole bunch of things? And something will, come to mind. So what's the story you're telling yourself about why you're too busy? Are you being a victim to time, or are you the one in charge deciding where you use your time? Have the calendar to make it tangible, right? Of like, when you start to actually assign time to things, you see how much time it takes up, and you kind of get more real about what you can say yes to. Yeah. And then when you do say yes, make it a real yes so you can be present, right? And make it a real no too, because we let a lot of things creep in that aren't really in alignment, and that's where you're always talking about the alignment piece.
Exactly.
And then I'm gonna let you introduce the last concept, because it's your token.
Oh, the fierce boundaries. So with being a bold yes, a bold no, what do you have? How can you set up to have fierce boundaries? And I love the word fierce, because often it's a word we resist even using in our language, because it's like, oh, we don't want to be fierce. But it's this like Caylee kind of energy where you can carve out a life that you really are in alignment with, and you're really creating for yourself and being at cause with.
Awesome. Yeah. And say more about that, like in a tangible way. So like, what does that look like in real life to have a fierce boundary?
It first starts with looking at every area of your life. You need to look at how you set up fierce boundaries with time, with your calendar, with your relationships. And really what it does is it has you take ownership of like the piece that you're creating and all the different relationships around you that you're allowing in or not allowing in, because you are a cause. You're creating those hands down.
Yeah. And your relationship with yourself too,
and your relationship
right?
with yourself.
Sometimes it's easier to honor that commitment you made to somebody else, but maybe you made a fierce commitment to yourself to wake up and work out. And so are you like, how's that relationship going with the fierce boundaries, right? So all these topics are like so great, and I think we'll dig into like one at a time, because we could go so deep on that. But our topic today was, how do you stay more organized? So last week, we're too busy, what do we do to get out unbusy? Like ask for help, all of those things. Now, how do we look ahead and get in the right things in the calendar? I don't know about everyone else, but I'm kind of ruled by what ends up in my calendar. And so I need to be like getting ahead to fit in like my time with my kids. I need like, if that's a priority, show me your calendar and I'll show you your priorities, right? So if you're saying like your kid or your relationship or these things are important to you, where do they fit in the calendar? Where does your health time fit into your calendar? So putting those big things in first, and then what are your themes for your day? All of those things. So we'll talk about deeper on calendaring. Make it a bold yes. Make sure you're doing what you really is in alignment, and then have like fierce boundaries around that. So that's the big picture, and we'll dive in a little deeper next time. Any closing thoughts?
That sounds great. See you next time.
Bye.